Restaurants call it gnudi. In our Italian household growing up, we just called it ricotta gnocchi. Either way, it's easy and it's delicious. So I'm going to give you approximate measurements for 1 pound of ricotta. If you go to the store and buy ricotta, you're going to get it in a 1 pound or 15 ounce typical size tub. So you would use a tub of ricotta, drained and squeezed, 2 medium eggs or 1 extra large egg, a half a teaspoon of salt, and a few rasps of nutmeg, and then you're going to add the flour. Now, what I'm using is I am using ricotta that I made in a previous episode. And so I have what I have. I am putting the egg in it, and we'll just kind of, I guess we're going to kind of wing it a little bit. But this is the way it is in Italian cooking, right? So I got this in here, it looking good. You would normally have about 2 cups of flour for a pound. But how much you actually put in depends on a lot of different things. It depends on, for example, how dry, were you able to make the ricotta when you drained it and squeezed it. Another thing is the eggs. How big was the egg? It's a medium egg, right? So what? That could, medium eggs vary in size quite a bit. So the idea here is that you add whatever you're going to do, you add the flour a little bit at a time, and what you're aiming to get is a dough that won't stick to your hands. Right, so I'm going to get it to a certain point here in this bowl, and then I'm going to turn it out onto this, turn it out right here onto this board. Okay? Now, I prefer, when I do this, I actually prefer to use gloves. I'm going to grab a couple of gloves here, because one of the interesting things about dough when you make it is that it sticks more to hands than it does to a latex glove. So I'll put these on, and I'm going to start mixing this up, and I'm going to start kneading this. And I want to do it relatively gently. I don't want to overdo it because I don't want this thing to get super tough. I want nice, light gnocchi. We put these on. I'm going to start mixing it, and already I can tell it's still too wet. Okay, it's not going to behave properly the way it is right now. So I'm going to continue to add a little bit of flour, and I'm going to continue working this until I've got a dough, as I need it, that is not going to stick. And of course, you put as much flour as you need on the board. So that's actually looking pretty close, but still a little bit too sticky. Still a little bit too sticky. I'm just going to keep adding flour. All right. Now I think we're really kind of getting there. Once I get to that point, I can lose the gloves. They're not going to stick anymore. Okay, that's good. That's a good consistency. So what you have to do from that point is you're just going to mix it up a little bit like that. And then once you get it to where you want it to be, which is right about there, I'm going to have dough here on the flour on the board. I'm going to divide this up. What I do with it is I just make it into pieces like this, and then you roll these pieces out kind of like cigars. Just like that. You notice it's not sticking. It's not sticking to the board, not sticking to my hands. I roll out these little cigars, and then I cut them into bite-sized pieces like this. I have a little knife. It's 1, there's 2, 3, etc. So that. I now have my gnocchis. So I'm going to finish doing this, and then we'll come back. When we come back, we're going to have replaced all of this. I have a little sauce to go with it. We're going to cook the gnocchis, and we're going to serve them up. All right, so now we're ready to cook the gnocchi. I've got a nice pot of boiling water here. I have a simple sauce that I made. One of the things I forgot to mention was I did put a half of a teaspoon of salt in the egg and that's very helpful here. We're going to try and get this stuff in all at once. Force that boiling. Well, there we go.
Yes.
We're going to get it back to a boil as quickly as we can. And as soon as these things surface, as soon as they come to the top, which actually doesn't take all that long.
Yeah.
Yeah, in fact, you can see them already starting to want to come up there. It only takes about a minute to cook these.
These are pretty big. They might need a little longer.
Well, you see, they're already trying to come up to the top.
Yeah.
So I made this. This was the sauce. I had some leftover skirt steak in the freezer.
Scraps.
It was the ends of the skirt steak, and they were left over. They were in the freezer, and I said, "What the heck? Let's just put some tomato, a little tomato paste, garlic, some herbs. I grabbed some thyme and mint and stuff in order to do that. Okay, so here they are. Right, they're coming up. They're coming up to floating land. See?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right. So now what we do is we just kind of grip. You don't want to, by the way, it's important not to cook them too long. It's important to get the boiling back up as quick as possible. If you don't do that, or if you cook them too long, they start to disintegrate.
Yeah.
So you need to kind of do them quickly. Put them in here. Now, and what I like to do also, you make something like this, you want to put them in the sauce, okay? Because this way now, they're mostly cooked, but I get to toss them in the simmering sauce.
Yeah. They have to be they have to have good structural integrity.
Yeah, in order to do that, otherwise they fall apart in here.
Yeah.
But okay, so let's get this thing out of the way. And you're amazed that I picked that up with my bare hands by a shoe. But go. All right, let me put this here. These are done. That's it. And that's it, folks. So I'm going to just dish some of these out into each of these bowls. And then don't be greedy. Don't grab yet.
I know.
Why?
Because there's cheese
There's
coming.
cheese coming. Yay. All right, so put some in that. Put some here. Get some more of this sauce in here. So that's it, folks. Except that, of course, it's great to have some Parmesan. No, we're just going to grate some Parmesan on top. So now you're permitted to taste. Now they should, be basically, remember I didn't knead them too hard. So they should be like kind of light and like in a puffy.
I'm looking for little pillows.
What'd you get?
Those are good. I got little pillows.
I got little pillows, right? Not dense, nice and soft, really good. All right, folks. So again, ricotta gnocchi, not that hard to do. You saw how long it took me to do it, and give it a try some night. You can use what you buy in the store, but there is an episode I had on how to make ricotta at home. So check that out too, and we'll see you next time.